Chapel by the Sea. Pastor Wanda here. This is our first installment in what I'm calling Chapel Curiosity Conversations. This is a concept that was introduced to me from Linda Silver. Today's Curiosity Conversation, I am interviewing Ed Day, who's been a part of our church for a long time. We get to know Ed in a deeper way, perhaps, a way that we've never gotten to know him. And that's one of the gifts during this season, is learning to find new ways to connect with one another. And so this is a gift to you from Ed, to share a little bit about himself, that you can know him better. And so this is episode 1, Ed Day. So Ed Day. Ed, you may know this question from any interviews you used to have back in the past, but why don't you get started by telling me and us just whatever you want to tell us about yourself. Tell us who Ed Day is.
Well, Ed Day is a product of Maine, and I was born in 1934, and I was the oldest of seven children, 4 boys and 3 girls, and my father was a bricklayer, so I became an apprentice bricklayer. I was probably one of the youngest journeyman masons in the state of Maine, and so I joined his forte and became a mason and a mason contractor, and then my father got sick after years. We were probably the largest masonry contractor in that part of Maine, and then we started doing a lot of general work, like bridges and shopping centers and hospitals and all kinds of things. And so my father got sick, and I took over the business and eventually moved it to a little town called Millinocket, Maine. And that's where a lot of the pulp and paper industry is, and so there was a lot of work that went along with that, in which we jumped in and enjoyed. And then eventually I took on a partner named Clayton Curry, and we expanded the business even further. And then we decided that maybe we had enough, and I sold the business to a national firm. And they sent me to Washington, D.C. to build a water treatment plant for D.C. And while there, I got through my project, and I wrote a little note to Ronald Reagan, and he said he needed some help. So he sent an Admiral Myers over to my house, and asked me if I would participate in the Grace Commission, which was a commission to, well, there's a book, I don't know if you can see it or not, War on Waste. And so I participated in that for about a year and a half, I guess, and then we flipped the coin and came to Clearwater, Florida. And we met you.
That's the highlight of your Florida.
A lot of other people. It's been a good move for us. My wife was a part of about everything I did. I was one of them guys. I had a lot of hobbies, and I like to fly a lot. So I had a couple airplanes. I had one that was on floats, so I could go into ponds and fish and this type of thing. And also up in northern Maine, there's a lot of remoteness, and so our building projects were quite often we had to build roads into the project to get them going. So I used to fly into those a lot. Also, my wife was a pilot, and she used to fly around the state and get us parts for all the equipment, and she was also the office manager. And basically we had a good good full life there. I had five, we not I we had five grandchildren, which are all doing well, and we got the three children. My son Doug is he's retired now, but he was a world-class bicycle rider, and he owned a company in Connecticut selling scooters for years. And now they live in Vermont on an island where he's one of those hot dog skiers, you know, going up and down. They got a beautiful place in Vermont. And my other daughters and Kathy's in Millinocket, and she's going to be on her way down here, I think, on Saturday, which I'm looking forward to. I'm not much of a cook, but but she is, and so I'm looking forward to that.
It'll be
And
good to see her.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, okay. So kind of going back to, so I guess you took over the family business from your dad, and it was mostly masonry work.
right.
And then you shifted into building roads and bridges. How did all that play out? How did that come to be?
Well, when I don't know, we just had big ambitions, I think, and we started bidding on a lot of state highway bridges and this type of thing, and we did a lot of buildings too for we did a lot for the University of Maine. We did a lot for especially the forest industries. We we had a franchise for steel buildings, so we put those up everywhere. Almost everybody had a steel building for a warehouse or something, and so we just became real busy at general building, and you know, built a few houses, but not too many.
Okay. So the project that President Reagan invited you to be in, I didn't get to see the full name of the book, but what was the project?
The name War on Waste.
So what was all that about?
That's about making the country projects, the government projects, run like a private business project. In other words, getting government out of the way and letting the private business do it their way.
Okay.
A lot of the things that we recommended and what have you still being enacted all these years.
And what was your role in that?
Well, my project was the Welch-Healey Act, with the effect of Welch-Healey and also the effect of Davis-Bacon. Those are labor laws and things. The effect on how much extra they cost each construction job, and primarily this was for the Air Force section of building, and it was interesting. I met a lot of great people. We used to see Ed Meese probably most every day, and Peter Grace, and he was the chairman of the project. So it was just an interesting phase of life.
So sorry, I'm being interrupted here by
No problem.
homeschooling.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Laptop emergency or iPad emergency here.
All right.
So of all the things that you were involved in, what would you say you're most proud of?
Married.
Really?
We were married 62 years when Della died, 4.5 years ago. And that was a big hole.
Yeah.
It's still a big hole.
Okay.
But we're happy with most everything we did. We got 8 great grandchildren. So in my family, amazingly enough, is all even though I had a lot of problems in the early years with alcohol, my my family is doing well. My grandson's a doctor in mid-Maine, and doing real well. And of course, my son has retired, and and my daughter Kathy's retired, and her husband. So they're all, in spite of me, they're all doing well.
What's some, now? You're a man. I think I can ask this. How old are you, Ed?
I'm 85. I'll be 86 the 8th day of July.
Okay. If 85-year-old Ed could tell something to, say, 30-year-old Ed, word of wisdom, what would you tell 30-year-old Ed?
Stay away from that liquor.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Life lesson there, huh?
Yeah, it was a good one. That one pretty near put me down.
Yeah.
So I just got my 40-year medallion.
Wow.
A few months ago, and so it's been a big part of my life for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And I get like you, I get to help a lot of people, and that makes me feel awful good. So I'm going to keep
doing that. Yeah. Well, Ed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and invite anyone else that has a question for Ed to unmute yourself and hit Ed with a question.
Okay.
Ed, this is Chuck talking. Did I interrupt somebody?
No, I hear you fine, Chuck.
All right. What led you to get involved at the chapel?
Well, I wanted to be a better person. I had been less than better for quite a while, and I thought, I got a nice family and a good wife and everything. Let's see if we can't make ourselves a little better. I'm still one of those ones with lots of questions and a lot of I don't call them doubts, but I go to a lot of the programs that Joe has, and so I'm a guy in progress. I'm a work in progress, but I enjoy the people especially.
All right, thank you.
Somebody else? Anybody have a question for Ed?
Yeah, this is Linda. I'm curious about the other hobbies that you had beside flying. I had no idea that somebody in construction would also be a pilot. I think you might have some other interesting hobbies I might like to know about.
Yeah, I loved the snowmobile. I loved all sports, and I used to play hockey quite a lot. And I used to hunt and fish. I had a cabin way up in the woods that I used to go to with a bunch of other people, and we used to love to hunt and fish every fall. And went to went to the University of Maine hockey games. They had a great hockey team, and so we liked to go that. And it was 100 miles one way, but I remember coming out of some of those hockey games, and you win, it'd be nice, and you come out and you got 2 feet of snow. But that's Maine for you. And and I also had a big ego, and I bought a farm in Charleston, Maine at one time. It was a big pleasure. It was a lot of work for my wife. I look at it now, and probably my ego got in the way of things. But it was fun owning that farm. I had 85 acres, and I used to raise a few cows, and had a bunch of pigs and a bunch of chickens and all that stuff. And, that
How
was,
long did you have the farm?
I had it about 10 years until I moved to Millinocket.
Okay.
Then, but it was fun. It was a lot of work, but it was fun.
I have a sister who lives on a farm, and I visit her and think, oh, this is so peaceful and idyllic. And then I hear about all the work and I think, not for me.
Yeah.
Have you been able to bring any of those hobbies or find any new hobbies in Clearwater?
Yeah, I go to the Y not every day, but at least 3-4 times a week, and try to work out a little bit. Usually I end up talking a lot and playing cards.
You? What? Surely not.
Yeah. But
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Maybe one more question.
What made you decide to move to Florida?
Well, that's we have vacationed here quite a few times, and I got busy in my construction life. I was on a lot of committees. In fact, I was on the National AGC committee, and so we traveled a lot. And one of the times that we traveled, we came to Clearwater, and it was especially great weather, and we had a great time. And so we said when we retire, we'd go back. But it was kind of funny when we decided to come. We decided that we'd flip a coin and we'd either drive down or come down on the train. And so we flipped the coin and the train won. So that was another experience.
Sounds like a nice experience.
Thank you.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for sharing of yourself with us, of your vulnerability.
Thank you, Ed.
Some of your story. Let's give it up for Ed.
Right.